obviously you moved out here and you became into the limelight. Your group of friends are. What is the biggest moment where you're like, what the hell is my life? Like what? How did I get here?
I think I say that almost every day. I'm like, what is this life? What is it? I just cannot believe it. I think when I first started dating Heath and I saw his lifestyle, and because I never experienced the social media lifestyle, and when I saw what him and his friends were doing, I was like, what is this? This is a thing. I didn't understand it. And still to this day, like, I'm just like, this is like a way of living.
Wild.
It's insane. I can't wrap my head around it. I'm like so grateful every single day. I'm just confused.
Was there like one big moment where you're like, we did, okay. You're just in bed at the end of the day. You're like, we did what today? Like if you would have told yourself that morning, you're like, I'm not going to do this today. And then.
Yeah. I remember one of the first times that I was like, what the heck? I can do this. We went to Rodeo Drive, just randomly just went for dinner. And when we were done with dinner, David was like, okay, I'm going to flip a coin. If it lands on heads, we're going to Vegas right now. Jeez. And I was like, what do you, and I was like, okay, didn't wrap my head around it. And it landed on heads and we all booked flights and we left 2 hours later. And I was like, we can do this.
We can do this.
I was so, and then we were in Vegas for maybe like 5 hours and then we came back.
What?
And that's like a normal thing. Like we just go to Vegas for the night and we come back.
That's wild.
What does your family think about all this? Like, how do they process? You're like, yeah, we went to Vegas and then we bet a lot of money but we came back on like 6 hours.
When I first started doing that, they were just like, what do you mean? I would call them for my mom always says, call me at every destination. Like, keep in touch. So I call them for everything. And I was like, I know this is confusing, but this. And my siblings think it's really cool. And then my parents are still like, okay, like you're good on money. And I was like, I'm good now, Ma. Like, it's okay. That's their biggest concern with everything. They're like, and you have money to do this? I'm like, I'm good. Like, relax.
Okay. That'll always be a parent's concern.
Yeah, always.
Always. Grandma.
My dad, when I bought my first car, my dad was like, and you do what again?
Yeah.
You sure? All right.
Yeah, to a much like lesser extent, I'll like call friends or family back home and I forget where I live and what I do. So I just say things like they're normal now.
They're like,
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, we like rode on this bull on top of a volcano. It is what it is. And they're like, oh, what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It
brings you back to reality a little.
Yes.
Like one time, who were you on the phone with FaceTiming me? I was painting your wall and you were playing basketball with who?
Sway Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just.
Who's with Sway Lee? And FaceTimes me and I'm mad because I'm being like nice and I'm painting the second coat of his wall. But I'm like low-key mad about it. But
right,
I'm
of course,
not.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm painting and I get a FaceTime call and he goes, I'm FaceTiming with this person. I'm like, who is this? And he goes, why didn't you react? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, that's Sway Lee. And I was like, oh, shit, what a weird life I live.
That's a very weird thing, like going back and realizing how many celebrities, but it's kind of normal. Like you'll see them on the street.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And my family will see a video of me with like David Blaine and they're like, why didn't you tell us about this? And I'm like, it doesn't click sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, this is life now. It's insane.
Yeah.
I'm sure you meet a lot of celebrities. Is there anyone where you like, you know way too much information about them, but you like got to play it cool? Like, what was your name again?
Maybe David Blaine. I used to watch David Blaine as a kid. Like I was obsessed with him, and then now he'll like hang around, and I'm like, what?
And you just got to be like, you want a water from the kitchen? I'm going there.
Dan, you good, Dan? Oh, David, sorry,
That's really funny.
In a weird way for me, it was like I used to watch David's videos like as growing up and before I got into the industry.
Because that was more your Disney Channel. I feel like us was like Disney Channel. We were growing, when, like YouTube was more.
Yeah,
That's so Raven.
Weirdly,
sister. You want sister?
Sister. Yeah,
she knows.
So weirdly, YouTube wasn't like really my thing. Like I had a couple of like YouTubers that I really enjoyed, and that was about it. Like I didn't know about any. Like you were talking about it yesterday. I had no idea what MagCon was or anything like that. I just didn't. Like I didn't know what any of that was. It wasn't. Social media influencers weren't as widespread to Australia in my childhood.
Oh, really?
But David Dobrik was. Like he was huge.
He
like,
transcended.
He made it over there. So like he's good.
Yeah.
So I would watch his videos and I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. Like look at the life he lived. Wow, weird. And then I came over here and then I bumped into him at VidCon one time. My car had been pulled up to valet because I was leaving and he was leaning against my car and I was like, who's that leaning I was like, hey, I gotta get in my car. And he's like, I was like, can I get a selfie? And he was like, yeah, he's super nice.
He's
every
the
time
nicest.
I run into him now, because like I've met him a couple times now, but like every time it takes me back, because I'm like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
That's
It's like a
so
full circle
weird.
moment.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is a massive full circle moment. And now it's like the brands that I would save up all my money for as a kid reach out to me and like send me things, and I freak out. I'm like, Benefits Cosmetic. I used to, oh my God. I was just talking to them because they did my eyebrows a couple days ago. And I was like, by the way, like I saved up all my money to buy the Hoola bronzer when I was like 13 years old. And it took me so long, but thank you. And now you're doing my eyebrows.
It's
like,
unreal. I
it
feel like
really
I'll
is
never
weird.
not freak out.
No, never. Like it's
unbelievable.
wild to me.
Wild.
Because deep down, you're still that girl that moved here with $200.
Right.
In her
exactly.
pocket.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
It's
what
just
keeps you grounded.
unbelievable. I cannot believe like the opportunities. It's insane. There's
is.
nothing like it.
So
over
what did
here.
you go through your first couple of months with that $200 in your pocket?
So I stayed in an Airbnb when I first came out here.
That wouldn't have
and
been cheap.
No, he charged me. Well, it was cheap because it was under construction. It was a house that was under construction. So there was no kitchen. There was 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, which was where I stayed. And the rest was just, there was no floors. It was totally under construction. The windows were barely like in. So like
my
it was
God.
very open. And I showed up and I walked in and it was like, there was sawdust. It was horrible. There was 1 mattress on the floor. I had 1 suitcase with me and I was like, okay, this is life. Like start working. And I started working and then the guy was like, listen, we're going to sell the house. Like, but my brother has another house that you can move into, another Airbnb, but it's under construction. So I did the same thing. I moved to another house. The bed was actually in a frame this time. And I was like, upgrade. Like,
Upgrade.
yeah. So still had 1 bed. I still like had everything in my suitcase because there was no closets. Like it was horrible. And then I worked at a dance studio. And then what else did I do? I got a job at Pan Express.